Good morning, good evening, good afternoon to all the professionals who are joining from different time zones. This is Mohammed Kashif, and we are starting a new series, Get Inspired, in which we would like to invite some amazing professionals around the globe uh, where they can share their journey and they can inspire us how we can move forward. In our first session, we are lucky to have Mr. Zubair Sohail. He's an amazing professional. I've been in touch with him for, I think, 1 or 2 years. He's currently working in Amazon UK in finance, and he's also active in a number of social media platforms where he give advice to the professionals on various topics there are. And if you will scroll down, and I will have the all the links of his social media activities. He's active in YouTube as well. He give the amazing guidance to the professionals in career and in professional growth, in some other topics as well. So you can just explore all the details. So welcome, Mr. Zubair.
Hi, thank you so much, Kashif, for the amazing introduction, and it's really humbling. So I really appreciate that, and thank you for giving me the opportunity to be a part of the series and also being the first guest on the first episode. So I
Oh,
feel really special. Thank you so much.
a pleasure is mine. Great. So let's start. It's been, I think, we have talked about with each other. It's been a year or so. So it's been a year since we have talked. So can you tell us about your early education, early brought up, and then we can move forward.
Sure. So I'm originally from Pakistan, but I was born and raised in Saudi Arabia. So, and it was, I think, 1983 when my father actually migrated from Pakistan to Saudi Arabia, and then from there on, he started living there, and that is where he got married, and then I was born as well. So I did my most of my schooling from Saudi Arabia, and I did my O levels and then A levels. And there is just one Pakistani school in Jeddah, Saudi Arabia, which is Pakistan International School, and most of the people are aware of it, and that is where I did my A levels from. And from there on, I went back to Pakistan to do my university, and I did my bachelor's in business administration from Iqra University in Karachi. And once I completed that, that was a 4-year bachelor's degree program. And after finishing that, I came back to Saudi Arabia, where my family was still there. So, and I started looking for a job in Saudi Arabia. So, and the thing was that most of my friends, all of them were from accounting background, and they were all of them were pursuing professional qualifications. And I always felt that just having a bachelor's degree was not enough. And so I wanted to do something more than that. I wanted to get a professional qualification. And due to lack of, let's say, mentoring or mentors, and even social media was just coming up during that time. It was back in 2005, 2007. So like there was still a lack of social media. So there was no asset guidance over there. I was just sort of following what most of my friends were doing, or if anybody, like you meet people at a social gathering, they would suggest something, and then I would just start pursuing that. So I had no sense of direction until the end of my bachelor's degree. So, like, just for following up with my friends, I thought that I need to do any professional qualification. And at that time, ACCA was offering some, you can say, exemptions on certain exams if you had a bachelor's degree from certain universities. So they had their exemption program. And at that time, I was getting 6 exemptions because of my bachelor's degree, and I still had to do another 7 exams, I believe, because it was 14 exams back then. So after that, like I was still working full time, and so when I came back to Saudi Arabia, I started looking for a job. I got a job with Abdul Latif Jameel, which is Toyota KSA in Saudi Arabia. So and like they gave me, let's say, a temporary job. It wasn't even a full time job. And so like I started working in their finance department in one of their companies. So ALJ is quite a big group in Saudi Arabia. They have almost 42 to 45 entities, if I'm not wrong. in KSA. So I was in one of those entities where I was working in finance department as a financial analyst. During that time, I was still interviewing at other places as well, but my main goal was to either get a master's degree or get a professional qualification. And one other thing at that time I had looked into was also an MBA, but I knew that getting an MBA, if you wanted to get a good MBA, you needed to have some years of experience, and you just don't go from your bachelor's degree to do that. So I didn't want to do that. But so coming back to the professional qualification thing. So while working full time, I thought I will do an ACCA. And then that was the first time in my life when I sort of like got somebody as a mentor. So he was my boss at the time. His name was Mustafa Lakhani. And so he had joined ALJ from Pakistan, and he was a financial controller back then. So he always used to sort of had these kind of questions that where do you see yourself going in the next 5 years? What kind of career do you have in mind? So that was the first time somebody actually asked me those questions. And I would say in a very honest way, like they actually thought about it and they wanted me to be somewhere. So I told him that this is my plan, that I would get an ACCA and then, maybe join a big four audit firm. So he gave me the advice that why do you want to do an ACCA? Because the ACCA market was a bit saturated because everybody was doing that. So he said, if you want to have yourself sort of stand out from the crowd, why don't you go for a US CPA? And it's especially because we were in the Middle East market. The US CPA, let's say, had a better, you can say, brand name because like there is a big influence of US organizations in Middle East. So I looked into it, and US CPA only had 4 exams, whereas for ACCA I would have to do 7 exams. So that was one of the things that sort of you can say pivoted me towards a US CPA. And then I did my like if you have a foreign degree, you need to get it evaluated. So that was the first step that I did. Like I went on, I got my degree evaluated, and that is one of the challenges that a lot of people, especially if they're from, let's say, Southeast Asia, they have a BCom. So that is one challenge that most people face in getting into a US CPA, is that they have a requirement of a 4-year bachelor's degree. So if you have a 2-year bachelor's degree or a 3 years bachelor's degree, they would not accept that. And so you would not be eligible to sit for the exams. After finishing that first step, I was eligible, and then I registered with New Hampshire State Board of Accountancy, and then my USCPA journey started while working full time. And that was I would say a bit of a challenging time for me because especially the US tax exam. In Saudi Arabia, there are no taxes as such, so I had no background about taxes, either income tax or corporate or any sort of tax. So that was the biggest challenge for me. And also, like I'll be very honest that I did not pass all my exams on the first attempt. So like there were multiple attempts, and with USCPA it is that there have to be 18, like you have to pass all 4 exams within the 18 months time span. And if you don't do that, then all of your previous exams that you have passed lapse, and then you have to attempt it again. Yes. So it took me around I would say 2.5 years to complete that, but I did end up doing that. And then like one of the things that was good for me, that especially from work, was that they were very supportive of that. And like they gave me time, they gave me annual leaves. So in that sense, I really appreciate Abdul Latif Jameel as an employer, that they really care about my progress. And then at the same time, the good thing was that I was still like living with my parents, so that support was also there, that most of your things get done while you're living with them, right? So you have a sort of support on that as well. And especially since I had started off my career, so I did not have, I would say, like you have a salary of a starter. So
Mm,
even then, and then the other thing was that the exams, you don't do it in Saudi Arabia. I had to travel, and at that time they allowed you to do sit the exams in Dubai. So I had to travel for that, like get a hotel, stay there. And but yeah, I also had one of my friend who really helped me during that time. I stayed at his like whenever I went for my exam, I always stayed with him. I think only once I got a hotel, but other than that, every time I stayed at his house.
great.
And so yeah, so I would say, like the key thing for me during that time was that having a good support group that made this journey a lot easier than it would have been if I was doing this all on my own. And that is one thing that I tell most young professionals or people who are in universities, that having the right kind of support group is one of the key things for you to have on your journey, and that would make things a lot easier for you. So that was one of the things. So after completing my USCP exam, the next challenge came in that you can pass the exams, but then you don't get licensed until you have certain hours of audit. So you need to have external audit experience. And at that time, in like within my career at Abdul Latif Jameel, I had moved from, like, I started at one entity, but by that time I had been like with four of their entities. Like I had moved on from one to the other, and like I had been working for almost 6 years, and I was a pricing manager. So it was, I would say, like a bit of a senior position. But then, like, if I were to move into audit, I would have to start from zero. Like I would have to go back in at an audit associate. And then again, that was, I would say, a bit of a tough decision for me, because I wasn't sure whether it would be the right thing. So then I started applying for audit positions so that I can get my license. Because even though I decided that I would go back in my career, but getting that USCPA license was very important, especially after all the hardships that I had been through. And since I mentioned earlier that most of my friends were still, like, they were all finance professionals, so most of them were working now in audit firms. So that was the other thing that made it a bit more easier for me, that when I was applying to audit firms, I got referrals. So, and then one of my friend who was working at Deloitte at the time, he was an assistant manager, so he gave me a referral in Deloitte Saudi. And then once I got the interview, I passed it. And this is the question that they asked me, that why am I joining Deloitte at a beginner level, especially when I'm already at a senior level in my current position? So I sort of had to explain it to them, that what was my motivation behind it, and why do I need that experience? And this is one thing that I also tell candidates, that most of the times we feel that we cannot be honest with the interviewers, but if your interest and your motivation is genuine, and like, you are telling them honestly that why are you going there, and you have the right skills, so chances are that they will accept your reason for it. So, like, this is one thing that I also try my best to do, that when I'm applying for organizations or positions, like, I look for things that sort of relate to me, or like, why do I want to actually be there, rather than just coming up with a story. So, like, when I went for the Deloitte interview, my story that I had was very genuine, and they actually liked it. So I got the offer. And then I started working at Deloitte. And at Deloitte, I worked only for 2 years. So the thing was that like, initially I had thought that this is what I needed for my career. But after joining Deloitte, I realized that most of the things that they teach you at the beginning of a Big Four induction is what I had already learned at Abdul Latif Jameel. So in that sense, like, that wasn't being very productive for me. And this is one thing that I had realized, that a lot of people, like, once you made a decision and you realize that this is a wrong decision, but you don't want to go back, you don't want to admit that, and there is sort of, I would say, a certain ego playing into it, that like, I did not make a wrong decision, and people just continue with that. But if you've already done that, like, if you made a wrong decision, like, my advice again is that just accept it, and then see how you can rectify it. And this is what had happened, that I had gone from a very successful career at Latif Jameel to Deloitte, which I thought would be my dream job, but eventually I realized it wasn't. So rather than just being there and not enjoying what I was doing, I just went the other way, and I accepted it, that okay, this is not the right thing for me, so I need to move on. And then I started looking for jobs again. And the good thing was that I had also gotten my USCPA license, because they needed 1 year of external audit experience. As soon as I finished that, I applied for the license. So for international candidates, they have this screening, that one of the US CPAs, they call you on Zoom, and they do an interview just to check your experience. And if that is relevant, and like, you sort of convince them that you've done all the things that they need you to do to get a license, so to send you a license. So that was one of the, you can say, I would say, one of the happiest moments of my life, because I had been going through this journey for almost, I would say, 3 to 4 years, and then finally getting the license. So yeah, so until then, like, I was in Deloitte for almost a year and a half, and I started applying again. And that was the time when I got a job offer from Reckitt again in Saudi Arabia as a senior financial analyst in the commercial finance division. And and when I went to the partners and told them that I'm leaving Deloitte now, so they were a bit surprised because I had only been there for a year and a half and I had tried so hard to get in. But then again, like when I told them my reasons, they had accepted that and they were like very supportive of it. And I'm still in connection with some of them, and they're like still, following my journey, and they catch up with me every now and then just to ask like how I'm doing. But so that was the end of my, you can say, time at Deloitte. And then from there on, I moved to Reckitt. Reckitt, I was there for, I think, almost 1 year. And one of the good things of joining Reckitt is that I joined it in at the end of 2019. And at the beginning of 2020, as soon as the pandemic started, so the sales of Dettol and all of these products started going up. So I would say, in terms of the experience, it was one of the best times to be at a company like Reckitt, which was directly related to the pandemic, and our products were being sold, were being oversold in all the categories. So that was a very good learning experience. And at that time, I had come almost like pretty close to the career that I had left at Latif Jameel. So I was sort of on par with that. But in terms of learning, it was a very dynamic, because Reckitt being an MNC and having their global headquarters in the UK, so like we had a very, you can say, strict reporting deadline, and the requirements were quite high, especially for the KSA region, because that is an up and coming market for these organizations. So I worked there for almost a year. And then, something that I had missed earlier was that, let's say, during the time at Latif Jameel, I had started seeing like this social media app called LinkedIn, and it was just coming up at that time. Like there wasn't, there people would not post it, and it was sort of like a job search site. So I would always used to go on LinkedIn and see that what are the jobs that are being posted internationally as well as the local market. And I used to always see this big difference and the experience and the requirements. So like if somebody would post a job in the Middle East, they would always ask for, let's say, an MBA or a very, you can say, highly skilled qualification like a CPA or an ICAEW or a CA. But when they post these jobs, the similar jobs in, you can say, the European market or the North American market, like they never ask for a very high qualification. So the like most they ask for is a bachelor's degree, unless it's a specialized job. They would ask for a professional qualification. So that was one difference I always used to see. But and this also sort of gave me a certain hope that, okay, there might be a chance that maybe one day I can apply for an international job and get it. So that was also happening in parallel, that I was being quite active on LinkedIn and seeing that what is the job market like in different parts of the world. And because of my career also, this was sort of, you can say, something that I wanted to do, is that since I had moved, even with an ALJ, like 4 different entities, and then I went to Deloitte and then to Reckitt. So I started thinking that maybe it's time for me to move to a different region, because I've accumulated all this experience in Saudi Arabia. So like, how would that play out if I had experience in a different market? So that was one thing that I was also like continuously thinking about. Even with Deloitte, I had tried applying to their UK and the US offices, but in Big Fours, they require you to be in the organization for at least 2 years before you can apply to an international office. So that didn't work out. But then moving from Deloitte to Reckitt, again, that was a good opportunity, because Reckitt is also an international organization. So I thought like, this is something that would also help me in moving internationally. So while working at Reckitt, by that time I had been like started being very active on LinkedIn. Like I was making my own original posts. I was commenting actively, interacting with posts of CEOs, CFOs of different organizations in different regions. So, and that was a time where I was actually not applying for jobs, but getting calls from recruiters. So like it had started playing like sort of in reverse, you can say, because previously like I always used to apply and then complain that I never get calls, but now it was the opposite. So like I had started receiving calls, and like I'm really grateful for that. And then I'll be honest, like it wasn't something that I had planned, but it was something that was just happening. And then just by observing the international market, I just saw that what people were doing, like how they were using LinkedIn, let's say in US or in UK. So I just started copying that. Like there was nothing. I wouldn't say that I was being innovative or I created something. It was just by observing a different market, I started applying those techniques into the Middle East market, and it started working very well. And during that time, I got a call from Al Safi Danone, which is a joint venture between Al Safi in Saudi Arabia and Danone, the French dairy company. So, and the good thing was that looking at my experience, so they gave me a really good offer, like from a senior financial analyst to a financial controller position. So that was a big jump in title as well as in compensation for me. And that time again, like I was at a crossroad whether I want to continue at Reckitt, stay there for 2 to 3 years and go to their international office, or should I join Al Safi Danan at a higher package and a higher title, because it was still an MNC international company, but like there were joint ventures, so there was also the like Middle Eastern or the Saudi element to it. So that was something that I was a bit skeptical about. But when I looked at the job description, the experience was very vast. So I just went in and consulted with my father, and so he said like just go ahead for it. And that is one other thing that I've learned throughout my career, is that most of the times like you need to take a risk, like a certain risky decision in order to reap the rewards. So and the other thing with Al Safi Danan was that like I had always lived in Jeddah in Saudi Arabia. So this job was in Riyadh. So like I was also not mentally ready to leave, let's say, the city where I was born and raised in, and even my parents were still there. So that was also again, I would say, a tough decision for me. But then now looking back at it, I think it was sort of like a stepping stone, because now I'm not even in KS anymore. So yes, so that sort of changed later on. But yes, so that was another difficult decision that I had to take. So I joined Al-Safi Danan as a financial controller for Salesforce and supply chain. So that was, I would say, a bigger role in terms of responsibility and having a team. So and now, like with LinkedIn and my professional qualification and all of that, I always used to think that there was something missing in terms of skills. So and I remember vividly that back in 2016 I came across this concept of Power Pivot. So Microsoft was just rolling it out, and it wasn't available in the Middle East region back then. But I was looking online, and people were talking about that now pivots are changing. This Power Pivot is a game-changing thing. So like, and then I started following certain people like Leila Garani on and Kerbal page on YouTube, and then I started seeing their videos. Okay, what are they talking about? Like, what is this advanced Excel and analytics? And I even did some, I would say, basic courses through LinkedIn and Coursera, but I never got, I would say, a full-fledged package which showed how to do Power BI and Power Query and like merge all of that. So I had, let's say, a certain basic knowledge of that, but I never had done a full course. And I kept looking like, where can I do this course? And then sort of when I went joined Deloitte, it sort of went, I would say, in the background. But then after joining in Reckitt and Al Safi Danan, it came back because we needed more data analytics and analytical skills uh, in that role. So, and then again on LinkedIn, I came across your post that I found out that you had this amazing training course, and you were doing a free 30-minute session just to show that what the course is going to look like. And that is where I registered for it. And that was the first actual live course I had taken for Power BI and Power Query. So, and then that definitely helped me in my career, because from there on, I was one of the persons in my office that was part of finance, but also had data analytical skills and knowledge. So I was creating all of these amazing dashboards for my CFOs. And that is one thing that, again, that I learned about my career, is that sometimes you need to take on responsibilities and tasks that do not belong to your domain, but it can definitely help you. So that is one thing that where the CFO was heavily relying on me, that if he needed some dashboards for the board, or there were certain presentations where he needed to present the numbers, but he wanted it to be a bit more visual, and he needed to tell a story behind it, so he would come and seek my support on that. And the other part is like always sort of developing yourself. So if I were to look back up until this point in my career is that it has always been that when I had done my bachelor's degree, I just didn't stop there. I got a professional qualification, and then from there, from the professional qualification, I got these data analytics certificates. I did courses with you, and I learned Power BI and Power Query. So that sort of like even helped me in my career. That's showing that you're not only a finance professional, but you also have experience in other areas. So, and then after joining Al Safi Danon, I stayed there for almost 2 years. And that was the time where I had realized that like I'm getting bored of the KSA market, since I had already worked with 4 organizations in that region. So now I had understood what the KSA market is all about. I knew the ins and out of it. And so I felt that like it was time for me to move on, maybe look for opportunities outside KSA. And that is where I started actively applying like internationally. And one of the mistakes that a lot of people make when applying internationally is that they don't start with doing the research. They just go on random, you can say, job postings on LinkedIn, and they just apply for it. For me, the thing was that I started with a job search, and I started researching the market, like which organizations are the ones that are in a position to sponsor you. And especially with in 2022 when the Brexit happened, so there were certain requirements by the labor law in the UK that were finished. So like they used to have this thing called Lima, which is a labor market test. And since Brexit happened and they had a lot of people from Europe moving back, so they had this gap. And because in order to fill this gap, they needed people internationally, and that is where the government said, okay, we no longer require a Lima labor market test, and as soon as an international organization identifies a candidate and they want to sponsor them, the process will be a lot faster. And then I looked at organizations that were facing the biggest boom, and so those were the ones that were in a position to sponsor you. And so I looked at, let's say, the market, how the stocks are going of these big tech organizations, and how well are they doing. So, and that is where I started applying to those. And then eventually I got the call from Amazon, and I went through their interview process. They have this thing called Loop, where you have 4 interviewers in one day, and then you have to do the interviews. And yeah, so I passed all of them. Again, like I took a lot of help from YouTube and LinkedIn. I looked at posts of people who had previously applied, and then they had passed the interview and they were working now there. And even I found certain professionals who were from Pakistan and they had gotten a job offer at Amazon. So I specifically reached out to them asking for their experiences and how was the interview and everything. So they definitely supported me on that. But with big tech organizations right now, there's like a lot of material on YouTube as well that you can look and prepare through it. So yeah, I used all of those resources, and finally, like they offered me a position in their UK office as a finance business partner in their EU launch finance team. So that is where I'm currently at right now.
Wow, it is it really an amazing journey.
Yes.
Some bit a roller coaster ride, but
Yeah.
it's been an amazing and inspiring journey, and I'm sure just with exploring the journey, the professionals can learn so many things.
Yep.
Like they can learn the importance of mentoring, the
Yes.
importance of support group,
Yep.
uh, and I because I'm following you as well on all the social medias and YouTube, so I am aware
Yep.
that you are providing mentoring on your YouTube.
Yes.
You have specific videos for whether to go for which kind of degree, ACCA, CPA,
Yep.
and even you are very supportive as far as professionals who are looking for exploring the market in KSA and in even in UK.
Yep.
So you are also playing your part, which you missed. So you are playing your part as a whole, and that's a great thing. That's really a great thing.
Thank you.
There are there are certain things which are obvious,
Yep.
which are kind of a tip of an iceberg, but there are a lot of things which are happening behind the scenes.
Yes.
Because if professional is working and he want to grow, so there may be two type of skills a professional can lead.
Yes.
One is a skill which is not relevant to your field. You can be from finance, sales, anyone else. It can be production.
Yep.
Yes, and there is one skill which is relevant to your field, right? So we can just bifurcate both.
Yes.
And if I, as a guidance, if I ask, what are those skills which are soft skills, which are not related to the degree, the
Hmm.
field?
Yep.
So, what are the top five skills which you rate and you advise the new professionals who are coming and who are in mid career
Yep.
to look after for?
Sure. This is one thing that I would like maybe go a bit further back in the journey and then come back to the top five skills. So this is what I had always seen that, and like again, like there is nothing against getting directly a professional qualification, but this is just again my observation that I have seen most of the people, especially in Pakistan and India, what they would do is that they would do their intermetric or A levels, and then they would directly go into getting a CA or in ACCA. So, and the thing that I see most of them lacking because of that is CAs and ACCAs. Like most of the institutes that are doing that, they are mainly just institutes. Like they help you pass the exam, but they never work on like developing your sort of, I would say, a personality or like helping you develop those soft skills. And what happens is that as soon as you pass those exams, you directly jump into the workforce and then you start working, and during that time you don't like find the right avenues to brush up on those skills, and then you start like progressing in your career, and then you reach to a point where technically you're very very strong, but then your soft skills are lacking. Whereas on the other hand, I've seen that professionals like who go to a university and then do a professional qualification. So what happens is that they get those opportunities to present and to like play a part in extracurricular activities where like they get a chance to brush up on those skills, and like one of them being a social skill. So if you are in a university, what happens is that you're interacting with people from different backgrounds, different age groups, so you learn how to deal with people, like you develop the social skills. But I think that this is sort of lacking in people who come from professional qualification background only. So now coming back like to the top five skill. So the first one for any, I would say, like profession that's growing up or coming up now in the day and age that we're living in right now is, I would say, a sort of diversity in their professional background. So that is something that shows you that you don't not you like you not only know about your like core technical competence area, but you also know about different areas. So this is where I even have a video on it on YouTube about finance business partners. So like you're doing your finance, but then you're a business partner to different departments. So you need to learn about them and you need to show an interest. So like rather than just locking yourself up in your domain and say that I'm a finance professional and that's all that I'm going to do because I have the technical skills for it. You need to have an open mind and go and sit with your sales team, learn about like what they're doing and how they do it. And so like most big organizations, they have these, I would say, weekly experiences and training that where you can go and like work like a sales team member. So we used to have that in El Safi Danon as well, that we were going for 1 week with the sales team doing routing and then going to different, you can say, grocery stores, and then sort of doing the sales by ourselves. So that's how you learn about that. So that would be the first one, is that having sort of a diversity in your professional career. The second one would be like again, empathy and social skills. So social skills are very very important, and so that means like something from, let's say, you're sitting with your coworker and how you interact with them, all the way to like dealing with senior leadership in your organization. Because what happens is that when especially if we're in mid-career or early on in our careers, we really get intimidated by senior professionals in the organization. That if there's a CFO or a CEO, so
Mhm.
like we don't interact with them because we have the sort of fear that, okay, what they might think about you, and like they might not have the time for you. But at the end of the day, we forget that they're also just human beings like us. So if you have like a good idea or you have an interesting thought, I would say, don't be shy to share it with them. And you never know like how maybe they might like it. But then like you need to have a way to interact with them. Like you're not interacting with your friend or your coworker, so you're interacting with senior leader, and that is what you learn through social skills and empathy. So that is one thing. And empathy, I say, is mainly for managers, because once you're in a managing position and you have a team under you, so you need to understand like the human being behind that job or position, that sometimes people have problems, sometimes people need you to be there more than your professional self, right? So that is why I say that empathy is one of the big ones, especially in the time and like day and age that we're living in. People like they have so much stress, and it can be work related or non-work related. So as a manager, you need to be in a position where you can sort of guide your team and give them some sort of, you can say, hope for that okay, everything is going to be fine. The fourth one I would say is going to be storytelling. So like storytelling is very very important right now, especially if you're someone who works in a technical field. So whether you are a software engineer, you are a finance professional, you are an accountant, so the best thing right now that you can do is learn how to tell the story behind the data that you have. And the data is like, right now we have so many tools that we're just gathering so much data, but then how to use that data and then how to tell the story behind it, that is your job. And if that is what you are like really good at, the senior management is just going to love you, because they don't have the time to go through all of these numbers and all of this data. But if they see you are the guy that can do like make their life easier, so yeah, they will definitely be like doing their best to retain you, to promote you, and like have you around them all the time. So this is one thing that even myself, I focus on this a lot. And like one of the reasons of starting my YouTube channel was that, so that I become good at communication, sharing my ideas. And then I can take those learnings into my professional work as well. And then finally, I would say is that developing skills. And then again, like once you've done your professional qualification and you have your core competencies, I say that start working on the skill side. So whenever you see that there is a new, let's say a tool that Microsoft releases, like in our case, it's Power BI and Power Query. I'm still amazed to see that how so many people still don't know about it. And they're not making that effort to learn about it, because it would make their work so much easier. And that is like what I want people to do. Like and then I'm not just saying that go out and buy a course and then take that course. Like start with the free YouTube videos that are online. Like you will find so many creators, and everybody has a different style of teaching, so just follow the one that works best for you. And then from there on, if you like that creator, you can reach out, you can see if they have a course, whether it's a live course, it's a pre-recorded course, anything. So just go for it, and then start learning that. And you don't need to do too much. Like maybe you can do 30 minutes every day. Like 30 minutes nowadays is it's nothing. So just take those 30 minutes out, start learning on those skills, start practicing, and then you can just start developing that. And once you're done with that, don't think that this is going to be the game changer. Then start looking for the next thing, because now in our career, that is what is happening, that so many tools and skills are coming out every day. So we need to keep on updating ourselves. So those are the five things that I would say like most professionals should focus on.
Oh, great. So these are kind of a secret sauce
Yes.
where you should have that one. And the great thing is, which if the person can relate is be the initiator.
Yes.
You should have the courage to step up with some new thing. Just try them out.
Yeah.
That's a great thing. Okay, so if I can just now turn my question to if you are in finance.
Yes.
Now you need those skills, definitely
Yes.
you need those. Apart from those, what are the top three or top five in your opinion, which is relevant to finance,
Which are relevant to finance.
which is relevant to finance?
Oh, okay. So relevant to finance, again, the first one would be is the data accuracy. So because we are in finance and we always work with numbers, so I think that is one thing that we definitely need to be on top of. Because the organization, as you can say, as you start growing in your career, the dependency of your organization, especially on the finance team, becomes more and more. And how accurate your numbers are definitely going to define how the organization sees you. So as a finance professional, I would say that make sure that you always have your numbers right, your data is accurate, and there is never a doubt about that. So that is one thing that you should be known for, especially if you are in finance. Second thing I would say is that deep diving ability. So let's say if you have a certain amount of data, so you should have the skills with you that would allow you to deep dive into that data in the fastest way possible. Because like especially when you're working with senior leadership, so they don't give you too much time. They will always tell you that they need this in, like, let's say 2 hours, in half a day, or maximum one day. So you don't get more than that. So you need to have those abilities, tools and skills that would allow you to analyze the data in the fastest way possible, but you have to go like deep dive into it. And so that would be the second one. And the third one would be like sort of being again, like being the business partner for the different departments. So I don't know if you've come across this, but there is a stereotype that there is always a sort of a fight always between operations and finance. So like operations is always asking for more budget, but finance is always refusing that. So when you become a good business partner, you sort of become the bridge between the two. And so you start explaining to operations that why is finance doing what they're doing, and then learning from them that why do they need the extra budget. So there's still that sort of, I would say, back and forth, but it's more collaborative rather than being against each other. So that is the third thing I would say. As a finance professional, you need to be a good business partner to different departments and just learn the problems, like what they're going through, and then how you can solve it for them.
Oh, great. Great. So definitely, you shouldn't be working in silos.
Yes.
As an organization, it's good to work in collaboration, to step in their shoes, to see what are their problems, and then let's come out with certain solutions which are acceptable to all.
Yes.
That's great. There there because we are the world was changing around us, but after COVID, it has the transformation has moved at a faster pace.
Yes.
And now, in recent, I think, month or so, there is a big war is happening between the AI tools,
Yes.
ChatGPT and Brad. There are certain talks which are happening, and I'm also a user of ChatGPT, and I know how productive it is.
Yes.
So, and before that, there were certain other tools like blockchain was in the talks, and they are there. Then we came across with metaverse. So let's just explore those, because you are in a market where I'm sure the practical implementation is also there.
Yep.
In subcontinent, definitely the practical implementation is not so obvious, but in the market which you are in sitting right now,
Yes.
it is happening. So we can explore them one by one. So first, in business, um, as a finance professionals, do we need to know about metaverse and how it will help the organizations? Is it necessary?
So this is one thing that I'm a firm believer of, is that when you look at the field of finance, so there are so many finance professionals out there right now. And when you go into the market, you're competing against each one of those, right? Especially if you're applying internationally, then you're competing with the international market. There will be candidates from the UK, from the US. So now, like, you need that sort of, I would say, the X factor that differentiates you from the rest. And this is how you do it. And like, that is how I also look at my career, that having a YouTube channel, being active on social media. So that is one thing that I always use as my sort of differentiating factor from the rest. And I put my YouTube channel on my CVs. So
Oh,
they sort of see that, and that's not something that organizations ignore. So like, they go to the channel, they see it, the recruiters see it. So they know that this, like, we have, let's say, 10 finance professionals, and each of us have the same, let's say, similar experiences, same qualifications. But then what is that one thing that is differentiating this one person from the rest? And then that's how they remember you, right? They say, okay, he has a YouTube channel, he knows how to speak, so he knows how to communicate. And this is same for every tool. And then every day, like in every time, like, the tools will keep on changing. So now if you are someone who knows about the metaverse, so like, you can sort of have that in your CV in a way that will tell them that, okay, maybe I can create your PNL in the metaverse. I don't know. Like I'm not a user of the metaverse, but like that is something that would definitely help you, like differentiate you. Because with, especially with the big tech organizations, their goal is to be the first one, like in any of the new developments. Like they want to be the first, and then from there on they start building it and they start improving it, but they want to be the first, right? So if you have any skill that would differentiate you from the rest, I would say just go for it, and definitely tell people about it, that okay, this is something that I can use. And like, so they would definitely consider that. And the other thing now, I think that is, it's not about continents, or let's say like which part of the world we are in, because we're also so much connected now, and all of these tools that are available in the US are also now available in any part of the world. I do agree that the implementation might not be there. Like if let's say if you're working in Saudi Arabia, and you go to your manager and you tell them that you want to use ChatGPT or whatever, they might not accept it. They might not be open to accepting it as open they might be in the West. Like they say, okay, bring your ideas and let's see what we can do about it. But still, like, this is something that you can have as a skill on your CV, and it would definitely help you.
Okay, great.
Yeah.
I do agree with this one. As exploring the new changing world and seeing yourself how you can fit in will definitely be an X factor, and that is definitely, and which you explained earlier, that uh, you always put the X factor on your CVs, on your resume,
Yes.
so it is obvious there, and it can be a differentiating factor between the, if there are 10, so you can be one of the candidate who is remembered.
Yep.
Great. So it we can sum it with different tools which are there to enhance business productivity. It can be a blockchain. Right now, I came across one. I don't know the profession. He worked in Tesla, and he's now independent developer. And
Okay.
he admitted that the GitHub pilot was a kind of a very important for to improve his coding.
Yes.
And so it's good if you're working, and if you use any AI tool. ChatGPT is used frequently now,
Yes.
so you can improve your coding and you can improve your skills in order to move forward.
Yep.
This term, finance business partner, definitely, because you're working first with the KSA market, then you are working in UK market. So these terms are there for a long time.
Yes.
In subcontinent, we are having these terms right now in big firms,
Yes.
and you have in your journey you have talked about this term of finance business partner. But if a professional is looking for from subcontinent, so this term is not so obvious. So
Okay.
can you just briefly explain about the finance business partner, how it is different from finance?
Okay. So this is the other thing. Like if you look at the job descriptions of different organizations, you would find that 80% of the skills that they require and the work that they're doing is pretty much the same. And it doesn't really matter about like whether you're working in the subcontinent, Middle East, or UK, or the US. And I would say 20% that differentiates everything is the culture behind it. So now, like, coming to the terms of a finance business partner, or a senior financial analyst, or a finance manager, uh, all of these are like pretty much more and one the same. But the way I look at it is that it depends on what market you are like trying to move into, and what are the positions that they are actively looking for. So a finance business partner is, I would say, something that is still somewhat new in the KSA market or the subcontinent market. So if you have that, that sort of differentiates you, right? Because like everybody wants to learn that, okay, what is a finance business partner, and then they would come to your profile and then see. And then, like, if they would dive deep into the experience that you're showing, they'll say, okay, this is very similar to a finance manager, right? So again, becomes sort of like a differentiating thing. Like, how do you differentiate yourself? And one other thing, like the idea behind a finance business partner was that now you work more in collaboration with your like other departments outside of finance. So that was the one key reason behind it. But then it doesn't mean that you're not doing the core finance job. Like you're still doing that, but then this is just an additional thing that you can show that you're good at. So that is like briefly how I look
Hmm.
at the finance business partner thing. So like again, like it's again, it's not something very, I would say, innovative or very new, but just how you use it can definitely help you.
So it is about seeing the thing from a different perspective.
Yes, exactly.
Uh,
Yeah.
that activities were working in a same manner, but you can now see it in clear manner.
Yes,
That's
it's
great.
sort of like packaging it differently, you know. So that's how it is.
Okay, great.
Yes.
There is I've seen certain debates regarding one of the factors which are whether you are in finance and sales, if you are working in analytics. So they tend to have those debates between them, whether to go all out in coding or whether not to go out all out in coding. You can have the professional of coding and all those professionals
Yes.
in your team, and you can focus on your analytics or visualization and all those things.
Mhm.
So there is a debate regarding whether a finance professional can go out for coding and all those things, or he should held back, because you are in both areas. You are also good in and amazing in automation and all those things, and you have pivoted yourself to finance business partner, which is a collaborative work.
Yep.
So you have been to both ships, so you can be a good advice if one can ask this question.
Yes. So for me, I always work on the 80-20 principle, which is like you do 20% of the effort to get 80% of the result, right? So,
Great.
so so that is what I mostly focus on, especially when it comes to my professional career. And so this is what I've seen. Like if I want, I can be like I can learn SQL, Python, and all of that while working in finance. But then I just see that like how much will that help my work, and then how much will that help my organization being in the role that I'm in right now. Like how much do I need for it? So if let's say they only need me to have let's say basic or intermediate SQL requirements, I'll maybe stop even a bit before that, and that's how much I would do. And then again, like if you are someone who's looking to diversify your career entirely, then I would say that there's no harm in trying that out. Maybe you will like it more. So always start with like take those small steps, start going in that direction, and then see that how do you like it. For me, like I would be very honest, like I was working in audit and pure accounting before that. So but I really liked the data analytics sides, like the visuals and how do you automate things. So that's something that I'm like very passionate about. So that's why I moved into that direction. But even then, like I didn't go into it entirely, right? I still have my one foot in finance, but then I'm all doing all of those things on the side. So that sort of again like makes you more valuable. And then like if the time comes that let's say like even now with the layoff news in the tech industry, so if you have those diversified skills, even you have a small part of it, you're still a bit more valuable than the rest. And then you can take that opportunity as someone to diversify yourself entirely. So like I do agree that initially in your career the core skills matter, that you get a professional qualification or you become an expert of something. So once you get the professional qualification, you're licensed, so you're sort of called the expert in that field. But then I always say that go and try different things. And and not only professionally, like even on a personal level, like you might want to try out, let's say join Toastmasters group, learn how to speak, learn how to
Yes.
debate. So like never just I say hold yourself to one field and take it to your heart that okay, this is something that I do and this is what I'm always going to do. Because like we just talked about, like times are changing, like ChatGPT and all of these tools are coming. So if we're not going to focus on that and start utilizing those tools, like we're going to get left behind, and then somebody else will come in and they will say, okay, I am a finance professional, but I know how to use ChatGPT and I know how to code. So so yes,
Yes.
so you just get left behind. So yeah, that's just my 2 cents on that.
Great, great. That's and definitely there are so many takeaways in your discussion,
Yep.
and it it just remind me one important thing, which you just discussed earlier, that how you look yourself in next 5 years. So that is put your journey, your
Yes,
destination in front of you, so you can just uh, choose the path. Which
yes,
path do you need? And 80/20 is a great takeaway. So I hope this will definitely be an important advice to the professionals. And I was just looking for the time. I It just flied away. We are just about to close the session.
yes.
And I really don't want to close it. There are so many things which are in mind.
Yep,
Hopefully, we will love to have you back for another session. There are
sure
so
thing.
many things we can discuss. In the last, if someone who has just graduated
Yes,
from finance,
yes,
and there are too many things which are happening. There are certain layoffs which we discussed, that which is happening.
yep,
There are things about these are the jobs which will not be there for the next, say, 3 years, 5 years. So
yes,
there are too many doubts which can be in a young professional.
yes.
So if a young professional is listening to you, he has just graduated. So what is your advice as a finance professional? So in which areas he should explore?
Okay. So I think as not only as a finance professional, but any person who's graduating right now, for me, I think like tech is a very big one that they can focus on. And now, like they would say, okay, I graduated in finance or I did a bachelor's in business administration. So how can I get into tech? So I would say that look at the things that are related to tech and relate those to your field. So like in our case, again, like finance and data analytics. So that is, I would say, a one branch where you can start with, and then you can slowly start moving into it. Similarly, if you're someone who works in operations or in sales, so there are, let's say, tools that you can start working on initially that would help you, let's say, move more into the tech side. So like I would say that always keep an open mind and sort of try to diversify. Never try to get stuck in one field or stay true to one field, but always just keep, especially early on in your career, because right now, like even though you graduated in finance, but you still have all of those doors open in front of you, right? You can try anything out because you don't have that experience in any field. So you can start with that. So that is my advice. And then, like again, with the layoffs and everything, if you go back in history, like these things always happen, like history sort of repeats itself. So I would say that never get discouraged by that. So always keep an open mind and just be consistent with your efforts and try something early on. If you don't like it, let's say 3 months, 4 months, and then try something else. So like this is a saying that they have is fail fast. So just try it, and then if you fail, if you don't succeed, let's okay, try something else. And then if that is something that you like, then just stay consistent with that. So yeah, that would be small advice
Great,
that I have.
great, great. I think that's an amazing advice. And I think I've heard about a book, Fall Forward.
Yes.
I'm not sure whether it is from John C. Maxwell or Mike Tracy. I'm not sure, but I just I listened to certain books. So it was one of the amazing books. And so thanks a lot, Mr. Zubair. And we inshallah will also have another session. There are too many things which we can
Yes.
discuss. It was just an amazing session.
Thank you.
And there are too many takeaways for young professionals, for mid-career professionals who want to move on to their career, explore new avenues. So and I'll leave the description definitely in detail in the description, so the professionals can connect with you and learn
Sure.
from you. You're doing a good thing, mentoring and providing guidance to the professionals. So keep doing that one. Thank
Thank you
you.
so much. Thank you so much for having me, Kashif. It was an honor to be like the first one on the show and on the first episode. I'll definitely like to come back, and I hope that like whatever I have shared, people like they would benefit from it. And like you said, like they can reach out to me on my social media, drop me messages, check out my videos, and anything that they need further help with. Like yeah, I'm always there to help them. Thank you
Great.
so much.
Thank you. Thank
All
you.
right,
Bye.
take care, Kashif. Have a nice day.
Bye. Bye.